Samprapte sannihite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukrim karane. In that moment, in that very important moment, which we spoke about very elaborately yesterday, in that moment of prana tyagam, the only thing that can come to our rescue is the Lord, is Bhagavat Namam. Yesterday, for those of you who were here yesterday and those of you who could not, following a TV serial format, we will do a quick recap to bring us back to this point where we are in time. As we traversed through Sakhya Bhakti, we spent a little bit of time understanding how, in the context of Vishnu Aradhana, Sakhya Bhakti can be experienced across Vishnu Kshetras. We looked at many Kshetras. Can you name some? Pandharpur, Bhadrachalam, Ahobilam, Tirumala, Srirangam. As Hampi as well, because Swami Mukhya Prana came. As we looked through these kshetras, the biggest take back in some senses, if we can call it that, was the idea that Sakhya Bhakti, this personal relationship with the divine, can develop in many different ways. And the objective of Sakhya Bhakti is to ultimately surrender ourselves. If you look at the concept of Navavidha Bhakti, a beautiful idea that Prahalada talks about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there you see 9 different formats of bhakti and each one is a treatise in itself, so I'll not go there too much. But if you see, the last 2, the 8th one is mentioned as Sakhyam, and after that is Atmanivedanam, to surrender oneself. So Sakhyam is at the threshold of ultimately letting go of all sense of identity and merging into Him, and it can be done with joy, and that joy has various shades to it. So yesterday towards the end of the evening, we explored a very interesting story where one king inadvertently did a namaskaram only to Vasishtha Maharshi. He did not notice that Vishwamitra was in the same gathering, and this caused him quite some panic because Vishwamitra was enraged to know that he was not given a namaskaram. So he asked Rama that tomorrow, by the end of sunset, before sunset tomorrow, that king's head must be at my feet. And Rama, being true to his word, said Tathastu. Meanwhile, this king went and took Sharanagati from Anjana Devi, the mother of Anjaneya Swami, and she said, my son will protect you. And when her son Anjaneya Swami became Abhayanjaneya to this king and said, who do you need Abhayam from? I will grant it to you. The king said, Ramachandra. So Hanuman came running to Ayodhya and said, Swami, what a bizarre situation I am in now. I have promised him Abhayam, but you have promised to kill him. So what are we going to do? And Rama said, you must stay true to your word, I must stay true to mine. So there must be a yuddham. At this point, we paused the story. I want an honest fact check. How many of you went and Googled it, the answer yesterday? Simply don't tell, I know. I got some Instagram DMs also saying some of you Googled the answer. But the joy is in unpacking it together. That's what a satsang is for. So even if you have Googled it, we will spend time unpacking what happens now. Because after Hanuman hears this from Rama, he's not entirely feeling good about the impending war with his own Prabhu. But he has to uphold his word. So he goes to Sitamma. Because when you go to her, beautiful solutions emerge. So she says, Hanumanta, there is nothing to be worried about. You are Rama's Priya Bhakta. So there is nothing that can harm you because you are so dear to him. So his arrows, even if they hit you, they will become flowers. So you don't worry, you go and fight. So Hanuman took that, and the next day, Hanuman on one side, Rama on one side. And as they came together, all the devatas also come to watch because this is not something that they had ever imagined. And what Hanuman does is he extends his tail very quickly and he places the king whose life is in danger, he places this king inside a fort that he makes out of the tail and he says, you wait inside, I will fight. And the war is going on. Rama is shooting arrow after arrow and nothing is happening. Hanuman has an entire pile of flowers lined up in front of him. Hanuman he's not feeling ready to attack Rama. His job is only to protect. So he's protecting the king. So it is Rama who is attacking. And after a long period, Rama realizes not a single arrow is working. So he asks Lakshmana to go and inquire. And Lakshmana comes back with two very interesting pieces of information. First thing he says is, Vadinagaru, Sitamma has ordained that no Banam can affect Hanuman because of his Rama Bhakti. So those Banas are becoming flowers. That is why you're not able to affect him. You're not able to hurt him. And the king you're not able to touch Rama because the king is doing Ramanama Japam. So, in front of Ramanama Japam, even Rama's Murti takes a step back. In this moment, Rama and Hanuman again come to talk to each other. Narada arrives here and he smiled and he said, I was the one who started this entire leela to show the world the power of your namam, to show the world the power of those who befriend your namam. Yesterday we spoke about befriending Paramatma, but to befriend Paramatma we have to become friends with the namam. That is why we have this beautiful culture. If you observe our elder generations, whenever they're in slight discomfort or whenever they sit down on a bed or they get up, they say either Shiva Shiva, Ramachandra. These are the words that come out of them. This idea that the namam should constantly be here and here, whether you realize it or you don't, it has a power. Now all this is Tattvam. What is going to happen to Rama? Rama promised Vishwamitra that I will give you his head by sunset tomorrow. So Rama said, Hanuman, you lived up to your Kartavyam. You protected him. You became Pranadatta for this king. What about me? Hanuman smiled and he said, Rama, Swami, what was the pratigna that you made to Vishwamitra? You said you will have his head in front of Vishwamitra, no? Then ask him to do Sashtanga Namaskaram in front of Vishwamitra. Problem solved. So this beautiful story, while exploring Nama Mahima and Sakhyam to the Namam, also talks about what Sakhyam with Anjaneya Swami can do. That Pranadatta, whose Janmadinam is tomorrow, Janma Utsavam is tomorrow, that Pranadatta, Sugama Anugraha Tumhare Tete, with his Anugraha, anything is possible. And when he is there, Tumarakshaka Kahu Kodarna, there is absolutely nothing to fear. So paying homage to him, we will then proceed into the world of Shiva Sakya.
काहू को डरना तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना काहू को डरना राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न
befriending him in so many different ways. One beautiful way amongst that is to see his leelas at work. And that is what Katha does. It shows us that, oh, he does all of this and all I have to do is be in his vicinity and something magical will open up. Today is also that auspicious day when being in his vicinity really counts for something, because it is Panguni Uttaram, celebrated particularly in Dravidesham, a day that honors the coming together of Prakriti and Purusha. Sita and Rama have Kalyanams on this day. Valli Devasena marries Subramanya on this day. Ranganayaki Tayar and Ranganayaka Perumal come together on this day. And since we are in the context of Shiva Sakhyam, Minakshi and Sundareshwara come together on this day. I'm not talking about the Netflix serial. I'm talking about the real ones in Madurai. When you look at their Kalyanams, each of them is beautiful in its own right, because these Kalyanams talk about Paramatma and Paramatma Shakti coming together, and that is why it is a Vaibhogam in the truest sense. In Madurai, where that beautiful coming together of Somasundareshwara and Meenakshi happens, the Kalyanam itself is a very beautiful and a very elaborate one, but there is a very contextual understanding that is required for this Kalyanam. One is, Shiva and Parvati have married and come together as a leela in various contexts. One is the Kalyanam that happened in Aushadhi Prastham, in Himavat Parvata's Prantam, in his kingdom. When she incarnated as Girija, the daughter of the mountains, Shiva went from Kailasa Parvatam and married her. At that time, Agastya was sent down to the Dakshina Bharatam to balance the world, because everybody went there. So Agastya felt, I did not have the bhagyam of seeing your Kalyanam. And Swami and Ambal said, we will come and perform a Kalyanam in front of your eyes. You will see us coming together. That is what sets the context for Minakshi Kalyanam. So when they come together here, after the Kalyanam is over, all the bhaktas have now congregated for this. Now, the Kalyana Muhurtam is roughly in the afternoon. But in Shiva Kalyanam, you can always expect the unexpected. So he performs some 2-3 extra leelas. So by the time it is lunch time, for everybody to sit down at the Vistarako, it is already 3:34. Now what's happened here is, there are 2 bhaktas of Shiva who have come specifically to see this Kalyanam. But these bhaktas have a niyamam, they have a rule, that they will not eat every day until in the Chit Sabha. Where is the Chit Sabha? In Chidambaram. In the Chit Sabha in Chidambaram, until they have seen their Swami doing the Ananda Tandavam, until they have had the darshanam of that Natyam, they will not consume any food. So what did they think? They thought they would attend the Kalyanam here in Madurai, quickly take a bus and reach Chidambaram before evening. At Sayam Sandhya, at Pradosha Kalam, which now today also is Punya Pradosha Kalam, when we are sharing this Katha, at that time, after they see that Natyam, they will eat. That is their rule. So they were about to leave, and Meenakshi looked at them and she said, my children going away hungry from my door. The world calls me Annapurneshwari. Can I send away my children hungry? And they said, Amma, the Muhurtam for us to reach Chidambaram and witness the Pradosha Natyam is over. Now, our Niyama Bhangam should not happen, so we cannot eat today at all. And Parvati quickly looked at the time and she said, oh, Pradosham is soon approaching. You cannot reach Chidambaram in time. That is true. So will you not eat today after your parents have come together in this format? So, at this moment they said, no Amma, there's no chance we can eat today. So Parvati smiled and she said, there is one way you can eat today. I said, how? We have to see him dancing. Yes, he will dance. But Amma, we cannot go to Chidambaram. You don't have to go to Chidambaram. He will dance over here. He is meanwhile sitting quietly over here and he is looking and he said, I'm still in Varavesham, I'm still in my bridegroom clothes, but her tunes make him dance. So she looked at him and she said, for the sake of bhaktas in Madurai, and in this place where this happened, the entire room was filled with many, many silver utensils, silver articles. So this is known as the Rajata Sabha. And in that Rajata Sabha, Swami picked up his anklets. And as he picked up those anklets, putting them together, he began to dance just for the sake of those 2 devotees.
झननन 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 झनन झन 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 झनन 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 धीं धीं तधीं झनन 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 धीं धीं तधीं झनन 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 धीं धीं तधीं घुंघरू बाजे झनन 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 धीं धीं तधीं घुंघरू बाजे देव मुनि सब गगन विराजे देव मुनि सब गगन विराजे शंकर श्री नाथ प्रभु चित्त विराजित चित्त सभा में शंकर श्री नाथ प्रभु के नृत्य विराजित चित्र सभा में शंकर श्री नाथ प्रभु नाथ प्रभु नाथ प्रभु नाथ प्रभु नाथ प्रभु नाथ प्रभु 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 शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो गंगाधर शंकर करुणाकर मामव भव सागर गंगाधर शंकर करुणाकर मामव भव सागर भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो भो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो धिमित धिमित धिमि धिमिति तकिततो तों तों तरिकिट तरिकिट किटतो धिमित धिमित धिमि धिमिति तकिततो तों तों तरिकिट तरिकिट किटतो मदङ्ग मुनिवन् वन्दितईशा सर्वदिगम्बरवीशितईशा नित्यनिरञ्जन नित्यनिमेशा धिमित धिमित धिमिति तकिततो ॐ ॐ तरिकिट तरिकिट किटतो मदङ्ग मुनिवन् वन्दितईशा सर्वदिगम्बरवीशितईशा नित्यनिरञ्जन नित्यनिमेशा ईश सर्वेश सर्वेश ईश सर्वेश सर्वेश शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो शंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो शिव शंभो स्वयंभो
Pradosha Punyakalam is meant for Nataraja Smarana itself, and for Shiva Sakhyam to happen on this day is nothing but Swami's Sankalpam, that we are all sitting here listening to his Katha and witnessing him dance. So he dances in Madurai in one of the Pancha Sabhas. Madurai is known as the Rajata Sabha for this reason, and you will see this Murti of Nataraja as you go into the shrine of Sundareshwara. When Sundareshwara is straight ahead of you, to the right side, you will see a massive form of Nataraja. And that is the Nataraja that danced specifically so that Vyagrapada and Patanjali could see this form dancing and then eat their food for the day. So everybody was happy with this win-win situation. But Here's the interesting thing. If you see in Madurai, Shiva as Nataraja is a little different from elsewhere. In Chidambaram, which foot of Shiva is raised? The left foot, the Vamapadam. In Madurai, it is the right foot that is lifted. The reason for this is very interesting. It is said that many kalas, much later time from when this katha happened, from when Sundareshwara and Minakshi Kalyanam happened, one of the Pandya Rajas, who was a devout Shiva Bhakta, he came to the Sannidhi of Sundareshwara, and when he saw Nataraja, he started crying. So Nataraja looked at him and said, my Ananda Tandavam brings joy to my bhaktas, but there is so much sadness in you. This is not the sadness of somebody who is upset about samsara. There is something else that is bothering you. What is it? So the Raja said, I am looking at you, Swami. Constantly you are doing Natyam and constantly that left foot is raised. Isn't it hurting you, Swami? That thought is bringing me pain. That is why I am tearing up. That bhavam is powerful. Because when we look at Paramatma and we think about his welfare, Paramatma recognizes that sentiment. And Paramatma will perform a pratyaksha leelam for such a bhakta to say that sentiment matters to me. That you are not looking at me saying, Parameshwara, take care of the world. You are saying, Parameshwara, I am taking care of you. Love is sustaining you. My love is for you. So Parameshwara smiled and he said, you are worried about my left foot paining, no? I will swap my foot and I will pick up my right foot now and I will stay here in Madurai alone with this right foot raised for bhaktas to remember that one act of love can make me change the way I operate in this world. So this is the beautiful katha that is ascribed to this happening in Madurai. But if you look at this akaram of Nataraja, because it is Pradosha Kalam and it is such an imposing akaram, there is so much power in that raised foot. That raised foot is the left foot typically, except in Madurai. The reason for this is because Vame Bhage Dayadra Himagiri Tanaya Chandanam Sarvagatre, Appaya Dikshitar said. On the left hand side is the daughter of the mountains. She has occupied half of his body. So when he lifts up that foot, it is actually Shakti. And if you look at the Murti of Nataraja, it is that Kunchita Padam, that left foot which is raised, which offers moksham. That is why the Hasta also points there saying just focus on that one foot alone. That foot is enough. That foot is so powerful that there were bhaktas who used to do dhyanam of that foot alone. And one bhakta every day, again, one of the Rajas who used to come to Chidambaram, he would do dhyanam constantly and he would hear the anklets on Nataraja's left foot. But one day when he did dhyanam, it was complete silence and he did not hear anything. So he also cried. This ability to be able to cry in front of God is a blessing. We all treat crying as a big weakness and that is nothing but our colonized thinking. Because crying in front of Paramatma is opening our emotions and being vulnerable. So this bhakta cried and Nataraja came and he said, why are you crying? He said, Swami, I did not hear your anklets. I did not hear the gunguru today. And Swami said, yes. Because one bhakta of mine came singing to the temple of Chidambaram, so I got distracted and I went there. Now you'll hear it again and he performs that natyam again. But that's the arresting power of bhakti, that it makes Paramatma operate in a different way. But that left foot, so much tattvam can be spoken about. But we are talking about Sakya Bhakti. And in Sakya Bhakti, tattvam can also be poked fun at, but still respected. Sakhyam and Nindastutis are not to be mistaken as trash talking. Because what happens in Nindastuti is, there is a stuti, but it requires a certain depth and maturity of understanding to realize a bhakta's hridayam is Bhagavan. But the way they will reach that Bhagavan is very interesting. So there is one bhakta who looks at this form of Nataraja and he says, beautiful, what a swarupam. But I have one doubt. Swami, will you answer my sandeham? So Swami says, yes. What is that sandeham? He said, Shiva, I want to know, how do you feel now that that left foot is of no use to you anymore because you have picked it up because it looks like it is frozen or it is fractured. This is a composition of a bhakta. So shall we explore this unusual thought process?
நடமாடித்திருந்து உமக்கிடது காலுதவாமல் மூடமானதே தெளிந்து சொல்லுவீர் ஐயா. நடமாடி திருந்து உமக்கிடது காலுதவாமல் மூடமானதே தெளிந்து சொல்லுவீர் நடராஜனே. நடமாடி திருந்து உமக்கிடது காலுதவாமல் மூடமானதே தெளிந்து சொல்லுவீர் நடராஜனே.
నీ ఎడమ కాలు పనిచేయట్లేదా? ఇట్స్ నాట్ వర్కింగ్ స్వామి. ఐ నో వై. బికాస్ యు ఆర్ ఆల్వేస్ బర్నింగ్. యు ఆర్ అగ్ని స్వరూపం. రుద్ర ఇస్ అగ్ని స్వరూపం. సో వాట్ డిడ్ యూ డూ? యూ టుక్ భస్మం టు కూల్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ డౌన్. యూ పుట్ భస్మం ఆల్ ఓవర్ యువర్ బాడీ. భస్మలేపన సర్వాంగ. So that time, I think you put little too much bhasma on that left foot. It became too cold and it froze. So maybe that's why it's not working.
திருநீற்றை சுமந்ததென்ன நிருபானமே சீதகத்தினால் மிகுந்த வாத குணமோ. திருநீற்றை சுமந்ததென்ன நிருபானமே சீதகத்தினால் மிகுந்த வாத குணமோ.
Or maybe you remember that time Parameshwara, when Markandeya came and hugged the lingam because Yama was going to pull him away. That time you emerged as Kala Samhara Murti and you kicked Yama with your left foot. That time you hurt your left toe, no? That is why it is in pain and you have lifted it up, no?
பொறுமையுடன் மார்க்கண்ட உதவியாய் மரளி விழ உதைத்த சுழுக்கே உந்த குணமோ. ஒருமையுடன் மார்க்கண்ட உதவியாய் மரளி விழ உதைத்த சுழுக்கே உந்த குணமோ.
Or when you went to one Bhakta's house, at the door did you trip and hurt your left foot? Is that why it's hurting so much? Tell me.
பரவை அவள் தெருவாசல் படிதரிற்றோ எந்தன் பாபமோயல் சிவமே மூவரும் முதல்வன் என்றோ. பரவை அவள் தெருவாசல் படிதரிற்றோ எந்தன் பாபமோயல் சிவமே மூவரும் முதல்வன் என்றோ. நடமாடி திருந்து உமக்கிடது காலுதவாமல் மூடமானதே என்று சொல்லுவீர் ஐயா. நடராஜனே,
The composition ends with a very interesting question. He said, all this aside, I think I know why your foot is actually raised. Because there is a belief that when a child below a certain age does any karyam, a papa karyam, and they don't know that it is papa, the child does not acquire the papa. The parents of the child take on that karma and that papa transfers to them. I can see many parents panicking. So he says, maybe that foot is not working and that foot is limp and it is lame because of the papam that I have done. Sorry if there is something like that, Swami. That is how the entire composition takes a twist. Because there is Sakhyam to debate and to tease him like that. There is also Putra Bhava. And this is the introduction to Shiva Sakya. Because, as we said yesterday, we cannot compartmentalize different forms of bhakti and say this ends here and this begins here. No, where there is Sakhyam, there is Prema. Where there is Prema, there is Madhurya. Where there is Madhurya, there is also Vatsalya. All of these different kinds of bhaktis, different kinds of relationships will emerge where there is love. Love is the key element, and from there everything else will come. So, yesterday we spoke about Desha in the context of Kshetras and Vishnu. Today we explore Shiva Sakhyam from the perspective of Kala. Shiva is anyway Kala Swarupa Rudraha. He is the manifestation of time. But without getting into that much of philosophy also, just exploring the idea of how Shiva befriends us at all times of our lives. Every single moment. From the two placeholders. What are the two placeholders? One is when we are born. The second is when we go. And everything in between, which is uniquely customized and designed for every jiva. In all these moments, there are beautiful examples to show how Shiva is present. Whether you look from Tattvam, as Tattvam he is Paramatma, and that Paramatma is gracing this jiva to go through those life experiences until it retraces its way back to him and recognizes its own Ananda Tattvam, its own Atma Swarupam. But that much Vedanta if I get into, then apart from this team on stage, nobody will be here. So, just looking from the perspective of each step, how does Shiva appear and present himself? Because in Sakhya Bhakti, as much as he performs a leela, he conceals the leela also. Because in Sakhyam, this teasing so far we have only explored one way, where the Bhakta is teasing. Bhagavan also teases. But the Bhakta receives the teasing. There is one woman who, very close to Tiruchirappalli, is where her home is, and she is expecting a baby at any point of time. And her mother is expected to arrive to help her with the delivery. Now, as luck would have it, suddenly there is a downpour for multiple days in the region, and she is worried about how her mother will make it, because she is likely to deliver any time. At this time, despite all roads being flooded and all pathways to that village being blocked, she finds that her mother has made it safely and the delivery carries on. She is so much at ease with her mother's presence. The baby is healthy, the mother is healthy, and the grandmother is taking care of both of them. And when the grandmother is resting one afternoon, there is a knock on the door. So the new mother gets up and opens the door, and she finds that it is her own mother. So she said, "Aren't you in the room? How did you go outside?" She said, "What are you talking about? I couldn't come to your home because of the floods for all these days. And I'm coming now, and I must have missed the delivery and I was worried." And the girl immediately realizes, and she runs back to the room and found that the sleeping mother is no longer there. In that moment, she thinks to herself, "When my labor pain began, I screamed out to you and I said, my life depends on you and this life depends on you. So come now and assist me. I didn't think that you will actually come as a mother. And for this leela where Shiva blessed a mother and assisted in her delivery, Shiva came to be known in this kshetram of Tiruchirappalli as Matrubhuteshwara. Shiva who became a mother and assisted with the delivery. That is how his presence is. So subtle. He will not come with an ID card saying Kailasapati. But he will come, he will perform the karyam and he will vanish. Why? Because the call of love he doesn't ignore. But when he comes, he also comes as Jyoti Swarupam. And there cannot be a better way to say that than to say he is that Prana Deepam. He is that Jyoti which a jiva, when a jiva is attracted to that Jyoti glows brighter and brighter. And as we realize it, that Jyoti sheds light on every aspect of our life. What tells this mother to call out to Shiva in that moment? Shiva only tells the mother, call out to me and I will come. So for even having bhakti, we need anugraham. That is why we call Shiva as Mahaprana Deepam, that Jyoti Swarupa that gives our intellect Jyoti.
ईशं सुरेशं वृषेशं परेशं नगेशं गौरीशं गणेशं भूतेशं महामधुर पञ्चाक्षरी मातृभाषं महाभाषं वर्षं प्रवशं सुशेषं नमो हराय च स्वरहराय च पुरहराय च रुद्राय च भद्राय च इन्द्राय च नित्याय च पूर्णिताय च महाप्राणदीपं शिवं शिवं भज मञ्जुनाथं शिवं शिवं महाप्राणदीपं शिवं शिवं भज मञ्जुनाथं शिवं शिवम्.
What happens after a child is born? I cannot ask this question in Hyderabad because on the 11th day you will put them into Chaitanya or Narayana for IIT training for 40 years. But normally, if you look at the normal life cycle of a baby, once the baby is born, the care begins. And that care is a very demanding process. It looks lovely on Instagram, but in real life it demands. So, when babies demand, they demand not just from parents, not just from who they see, they demand from everybody and anybody, including Paramatma. So there is one little boy, a few months old, and as he's growing up in a house that's steeped in bhakti, one morning his father wants to sneak away early in the morning before sunrise to go and perform snanam in the temple Kalyani, followed by Sandhya Vandanam and his Anushtanam, and then come back home because they live in a Punya Kshetram. However, the boy is up early that morning. So when he sees the father going, he says, I want to go. He screams. So the father says, where will I manage him? He tells the mother, I'll not be able to manage him. I have to go and do the snanam. At that time, who will take care of the baby? It's not safe. I'll go and come. But the baby is crying. And those of you who have dealt with crying babies know that it is either their way or the highway. So the father has no option but to take the child. The mother has her own duties to attend to. So she hands over the child, and the child goes with the father. He's very happy. Just a few months old. So the father is confused now because he has to go and take a dip and perform his Ganga Snanam. So when he has to do the Snanam, he sees that there is a ledge that is safely away from the water. So he decides he'll keep the baby there, and he decides he'll be very quick today. He'll not take as much time as he normally does. So he puts the baby down, and to distract the baby, he just points at the temple Gopuram. And he says, see, see, see. The baby is looking there. Quickly he goes, and in what he thinks is very quick, he's gone there to take a bath. Meanwhile, the baby gets hungry. Again, a situation that there is no coming out of. Sakhyam is to find him in all these moments, not only the glorious divine moments. So the baby is hungry. The baby starts crying. And the baby is looking in the same direction that the father pointed at. So the baby stretched out his hand and is pointing in that direction. And when he's pointing at that Vimanam and Gopuram, which because they are inside the temple complex, he ends up pointing at a murti of Shiva, Gauri and Skanda in the center. As soon as Gauri sees this, she says, here I am sitting with Skanda, and there a baby is crying, I cannot be here anymore. So Shiva smiles and he says, that baby is hungry, Parvati, go and feed him. So immediately Gauri arrives, unknown to the father, and she gives her stanya kshiram, she gives her breast milk to this little boy. The boy is happy, and she sets the boy down and she disappears. All this happens in a fraction of a few seconds before the father comes back. Now the father comes back, he sees this baby is very satisfied, and there is milk stains all around him. So the father is worried, as any parent would be, saying, whose milk did you drink? So he asks the baby repeatedly, whose milk did you drink? And the baby pointed at the Gopuram. And the father said, what is he trying to say? And the baby spoke. An unusual happening. And the baby spoke, speaking about Shiva Karunya Mahima. In that very moment he uttered a verse, and that baby, how does a baby of a few months speak? What is the miracle here? We have to understand the story. Drinking Parvati's stanya kshiram, to be able to drink the milk that emerges from Parvati's breasts is to drink the milk of Atma Jnanam. And when that Atma Jnanam has flowed in from Jagannatha herself, nothing but Jnanam will emerge. Drinking the milk of Parvati makes one Kumara. So this boy is no different from Kumara Swami, and because he just radiates only Jnanam, he is now named as Jnana Sambandar or Tirujnana Sambandar. This Tirujnana Sambandar, Adi Shankaracharya also pays homage to him in the Saundarya Lahari, where he says Dravidi Shishuhu is referring to this episode, saying just by drinking her milk, that boy attained Brahma Jnanam. What a child. And this Jnana Sambandar, one of the most phenomenal devotees in the Shaiva Sampradaya, a devotee at the young age of 5 who arrested hearts with his Shiva Bhakti. Not Shiva Bhakti that was performed for the sake of social media, but Shiva Bhakti that connected him and Shiva, and there was a river of love flowing from him to Shiva, and all other Shiva Bhaktas came to see him. Shiva Bhaktas as old as 40, 50, 60, leading up to their hundreds, would come for a darshanam of Jnana Sambandar. There is a very beautiful moment when Jnana Sambandar is having his Upanayana Karyam performed. And at the Upanayanam, at the Brahmopadesha Muhurtam, when the Gayatri Mantra is to be whispered by the father into the son's ear, the son listens to it. And when the Muhurta is over, the priest asks the boy, did you understand what this means? Because they all know he is a Jnani. So the boy answered and he said, yes, I understood. This Gayatri Mantra of 24 syllables is coming from the Panchaksharis, Namah Shivaya. And in that moment, he composes a padigam, a verse of 10 verses, each saying Anjulum Setume. It is these 5 alone. He says, from the Pancha Mukhas of Shiva, Sadyojata, Vamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurusha and Ishana, 5 heads of Shiva, came all these words. From there came the Pancha Bhutas. From the Pancha Bhutas came the Pancha Tanmatras, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. From here came the Pancha Jnanendriyas in our body. All the Panchas that you see in this universe, they came from him. In fact, if you look at this universe has sets of 5 everywhere. Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Tattvas, Pancha Karmas, all Pancha, Pancha, Pancha. So the universe is called as Prapancha. That is a word that we use so loosely, not even realizing Pancha Tattvam is hidden inside there. This Pancha Tattvam came from where? It came from 5 syllables. Na, Ma, Shi, Va, Ya. And he said, hold on to this, and this will open up a world of love between you and him. So can we also hold on to them and to recite them and to sing a beautiful stotram penned by Adi Shankaracharya as the Panchakshari stotram, beginning with the corresponding letter or the akshara of the Panchakshari mantram.
नागेन्द्रहाराय त्रिलोचनाय भस्माङ्गरागाय महेश्वराय नागेन्द्रहाराय त्रिलोचनाय भस्माङ्गरागाय महेश्वराय नित्याय शुद्धाय दिगम्बराय तस्मै नकाराय नमः शिवाय मंदाकिनी सलिल चंदन
So much can be said about the Panchakshari, and it would be injustice of some sorts to proceed without understanding the placement and the respect, the reverence given to this mantra. Because we lose that respect when we make these our ringtones and our doorbell tunes. This respect is honed when we recognized how Vedamata and our Samskriti treats mantras. That is why there is a mantra maryada, as we call it. When we say Panchakshari, we don't say, oh yes, please chant Namah Shivaya. We say, please chant Panchakshari, because that is the casing. When you have some jewelry, you keep it in a box. That box here is the title, Panchakshari, Ashtakshari, Pranavam. We don't say Om. We say Pranavam, say the Gayatri mantra. This understanding, this titling and this positioning, to understand this, we will take help from the Shiva Puranam. In the Shiva Puranam, there is a moment comes in the story before Shiva and Parvati have their Kalyanam. In this moment, Kama Dahanam is over. Shiva has burnt Kama to Bhasma. And at that point, Parvati is very miserable, because she says, up till now, at least I could go and do seva to him. And I could see him. But now he is gone. He has left the mountains. So how can I attain him? At that point, Narada comes. The story is also being told in the interest that we should understand that Narada is not a gossip monger. In the previous katha and over here, he stands out as a guru, as the inner conscience in our Atma that directs us towards him. Narada comes and tells Gauri, up till now, what you could achieve through seva bhavam, you have achieved that. But now, you need to do tapas. You need to do mantra. So she says, I will do mantram, Swami. But how do I do that mantram? What mantram should I do? And he says, I will give you a mantram. This mantram is kept inside the gem of the gem of the gems. And inside that packing, it is kept in another 3 layers. This to decode, we look at how beautifully Narada has said it. He said, there are multiple boxes, multiple bhandarams, he says. In these multiple bhandarams, there are 3 pradhana bhandarams. That is the Rigveda, the Yajurveda and the Samaveda. Atharvana Veda is considered an antarbhagam, a portion of this. So we take 3 into consideration. In this, which is the central one? Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda. Yajurveda in the Madhyasthanam. In the Yajurveda, you have Shukla and Krishna Yajurveda. Again, 2 different portions of the Yajurveda. The Krishna Yajurveda is a larger component of it. In the Krishna Yajurveda, you have the Panchama Anuvakam, the 5th portion. It is not called Anuvakam. In this 5th portion, you will see something called as the Shatarudriyam. In this Shatarudriyam, you have 11 Anuvakas of Namaskara, 11 cantos of Namaskara to Parameshwara. Namo Hiranya Bahave, all of this comes from here. In these 11 Anuvakas, in the 8th Anuvaka, look at this. You have 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajus, Sama. In this you have Yajurvedam. In Yajurvedam, Shukla and Krishna. In Krishna Yajurvedam, you have the Rudram. In the Rudram, you have 11 Anuvakas. In 11 Anuvakas, you have the 8th Anuvaka. In the 8th Anuvaka, you have 3 Ratnas. Parvati, who said? Narada. You have 3 Ratnas. Namah Shambhave cha Mayobhave cha Namah Shankaraya cha Mayaskaraya cha Namah Shivaya cha Shivataraya cha. These 3 are the Shiva Ratnas. Amongst them, the one which comes at the end has the essence of the other 2 of Shambho, Shankara, Shankaraya cha Mayaskaraya cha Shambhava, Shankara, Shambhava. Both the essence of those names comes into this Panchakshari. That is why Vedamata has kept this Panchakshari so beautifully encased inside the Rudram, which is inside the Krishna Yajurvedam, which is inside Yajurvedam, which is amongst the 3 Vedas, and that is the mantram that is meant for you, Parvati. That is the respect that Narada handed over the mantram to Gauri with. So when we chant the mantram, that is the reverence that we have to have towards it. So this is what Jnana Sambandar, Adi Shankaracharya and countless Shiva Bhaktas connected with. And they had their own paths. And if we look at Shiva Bhakti, we see that Jnana Sambandar follows a margam called as Putra Margam, to connect with Paramatma as if we are children of Paramatma. So Jnana Sambandar, who is anyway a child devotee, particularly speaks about this philosophy. But as we talk about Sakhya Bhakti, we have to address the textbook definition of Sakhya Bhakti in the context of Shiva Sakhyam, which is one Bhakta who is so dear to Shiva. And he is with Shiva eternally in Kailasa. So much so that when the Devatas came to Shiva running, they came running when they had a need. What was that need? That the Kshira Sagaram was being churned, and at that time a poison came. Hala had come from there. So they ran to Shiva to consume, requesting him to consume that hala. And at that time Shiva said, bring that hala, I will drink it. There was one Gana of his who scooped up that hala and brought it to Parameshwara without any worry about what will happen to his own hands, not at all concerned about himself. And because of that, this Gana earned the name of Alala. Hala became Alala. So he was known as Alala. So Shiva recognized this act of love. Shiva recognizes, Vishnu recognizes. And then Alala is continuing in Kailasa very happily. One day, Shiva sends him on a small karyam. And he says, go to this Vanam in Kailasa. Kailasa is very different from our TV serials Kailasa, where it is one icy, cold, freezing mountain, only one stone is there, one lonely Shiva is there. No. Kailasa has multiple bhavanas. To understand this, you have to read the Shiva Rahasya Puranam. It is a gorgeous setup. It is no different from Vaikuntha Nagaram or Manidvipam. So Shiva sends Alala to one of the Vanams and he says, go and pluck some flowers and come. So Alala goes there. Meanwhile, Parvati has sent two of her own Sevakas, so two of her own dasis over there. So Alala sees them and little romance happens. Meanwhile, WhatsApp has gone over here. So Shiva notices and he says, okay, in my bhakta's heart, this emotion of love has come. Now, this emotion he is having towards someone else, not just towards Paramatma. So he must go and experience this emotion. So he sends him down to earth. So this being is born on earth, including the two dasis of Parvati. They will also manifest. Why? This is where karma rahasyam is hidden. That when we have a feeling that vasana must come out of us and we must overcome that in its entirety, only then are we entitled to go back there. So he is born over here. He is born and he is given this name of Sundarar. So Sundarar is growing and his parents are watching over him as any parents do. And when he is of marriageable age, which we believe is under the age of 15 as per the records that Sakya writes about, so his marriage is fixed with a woman. Now comes a very interesting happening. This is a Shiva Bhakta. Shiva has a special interest in the ones who love him. So this boy's marriage is fixed with someone and the marriage ceremony is underway, and during the Kalyana Muhurtam, just before the Thali is tied, one Brahmana appears into the Sabha and he screams, who is Sundarar marrying like that? He is my dasa. On what grounds is he marrying? Everybody is shocked in the Sabha. Nobody recognizes who it is. So Sundarar gets up and he says, who is this Pittan? Who is this mad fellow? So this Brahmana says, why are you speaking like that? Lower your tone. Your grandfather has very clearly written that from him onwards, all the generations that come after are all my dasas. So you should not be so surprised. Again Sundarar calls him a Pittan. He says, who is this madman who has just walked in like this? You have any proof that my grandfather has said that we are all your slaves? He said, yes, I have proof. Where is the proof? So he gave him a document. Sundara did what any smart being would do. He looked at the document and he tore it. He said, this is some random document. That Brahmana said, I knew you would do this, that's why I have one more copy in my village. You come over there with me. So Sundara follows this Brahmana to his village close by, and there is a Veda Sadas going on. This Brahmana appears in front of the Veda Sadas and he says, see, this is the original document that this boy's grandfather has written, saying that Sundarar and anyone else born in that lineage are all my dasas. So now he's rightfully my dasa. Sundarar has no words. He thinks, maybe my grandfather actually did this, I don't know. But now I have to accept that he is my Lord. And Sundarar bows down. He says, since I am your dasa, I will follow you. Where should I go? So the Brahmana says, walk after me. And the Brahmana walks past that Sadas. He goes into the temple and goes straight into the Garbhagudi and merges into the Shivalingam over there. At that point, Sundarar realizes and remembers his own past. A flash of it comes and he realizes, my life was taking another direction. Shiva himself manifested and pulled me back over here. Truly, he is the Atma Sakha, the friend that came to rescue me in this moment. And he cried and he said, Swami, your Pratyaksha Darshanam is gone, but what can I do? How can I serve you? And a voice spoke to him saying, you called me no, Pittan, you called me mad fellow no. Write one series of verses now addressing this Pittan. So the very first set of verses that Sundar writes saying, this mad fellow has Chandrachudam on his head, this mad fellow has Ganga, and he describes Shiva using that very term. But Sakhya Bhakti is a two-way street. Sakhyam is a two-way street. Shiva says, henceforth, an announcement is made. Sundarar, who referred to his Ishtadevata Shiva as Pittan, will be called by the name Vantodar. Vantodar means somebody who is very rude and speaks very bitter language. So he will be known as Vantodar. So this is a mutual relationship. If you whack him, he'll whack you back. That is essentially what it means. But look at this moment, that he took so much interest to meander and to change the course of the lives, just to say this is not what is meant for you. And that is the Sandesham in Shiva Sakhyam, that when we befriend the divine, we may think, I'm doing this is good for me, why did it suddenly get stopped? The hand of God lies there, the invisible hand of God. And for God, this is an arta. This entire thing is a game. And I don't think there's a better way of saying that than asking or declaring to Shiva, idantha neeku oka aata kadara Shiva. We borrow lyrics from the phenomenal Sree Tanikela Bharani, who wrote this beautiful composition saying, all of this that you created, you sustain and you destroy, all of this Maya, all of our Janmas, all of these Maranas, everything in between, all of this, Atakadara Neeku Shiva.
Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagadara Neeku Amma Todu, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagada Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagada Ganapatini Tirigi Bratikinchevu Kallu Moyuta Nodati Aata Neeku, Atagada Mayage Mangalamunu Gatti Kamadanam Musai Aata Neeku, Aata Brahmaku Srishti Antame Nidrishti Vishnu Mayalu Kuda Aata Neeku, Aata Chaduvuladalli Aata Bangaru Valli, Aata Chaduvuladalli Aata Bangaru Valli, Atagada Sree Chandra Sancharini, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagada Jananalu, Atagada Maranalu, Madhyalo Pranayalu, Aata Neeku, Atagada Jananalu, Atagada Maranalu, Madhyalo Pranayalu, Aata Neeku, Aata Srada Suntalu, Atagada Pantalu, Atagada Antalu, Aata Neeku, Atagada Radilupu, Atagada Radilupu, Nerupu Talupu, Nerupu, Atagada Rama, Atagada Rama, Atagada Ramanu, Atagada Ramanu, Madhyalonchi Aayevunanu, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagadara Shiva, Atagada Kesava, Atagada Shiva.
I hope after a day full of drenching ourselves in Sakya Bhakti, we are not frowning, wondering, why did Keshava Namam come here? We are talking about Shiva. Because if we spend our entire lives arguing about whether it is this side or this side, no, we will not have any time for Tattvam. Those are all necessary processes. Put that into that perspective and recognize that here the Bhakta is saying, taking the forms of Shiva and Keshava is also an arta for you. Because you are that Nirguna Nirakara Parabrahma and you take on every kind of arta to remove Ganapati's life and then to bring him back to life. To tie that Mangalyam to Gauri and to appear as if one has become two and two has become one. All of this is an arta for you. But in this case, that arta he performed so beautifully for the sake of Sundarar, and he came and changed the course of Sundarar's life. Now, Sundarar has this awareness that, oh, I am Shiva's Bhakta, and that Shiva Bhakti blossoms inside him. When it blossoms, Samsaram and Karma Vasanas, they also have their own pull. Because as we go closer and closer to the divine, all of these other bandhas must necessarily break. But for them to break, we first have to experience them. So Sundarar goes through a very beautiful journey of exploring and experiencing that love. When he arrives in one phenomenal Shiva Kshetram, in this Kshetram, Swami is known by a very unique name. Because if you look at Shiva's Charitram, Shiva represents so much that we reject. Look at what he wears on his body. Venomous snakes, bhasma from cremation grounds, a rotting elephant's hide, a dead tiger's skin. He's sitting in a cold, freezing mountain somewhere away from the world. All of these are things that we would reject for ourselves. We want palaces, we want wonderful things. We don't want venomous snakes sitting around us. We want gold and mutyalu and all of this. He essentially has given up all of that. We run behind the Amritam. The Devatas ran behind the Amritam. He alone took the Visham. So he does Tyagam of everything, and not just an ordinary Tyagam. He shows us that when you do this kind of Tyagam and say, Namama, 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 I am just that Atma Vastu alone, then we call him as Tyaga Raja, the king of Tyagas. That is why in this Kshetram, he is known as Tyaga Raja Swami. The parents of Sadguru Tyagaraja Swami, the musical genius, the Vagyakara, prayed to this very Shiva for their son to be born, and he was born with this blessing. That explains why he attained the heights of spiritual success that he did. So this Kshetra, where Swami rules as Tyagaraja Swami, is a very powerful Kshetra. Because Amavaru, Ambal over here, is in two forms. Nilotpalamba and Kamalambika. Kamala, lotus. Nilotpala, water lily. Kamala, lotus blooms when? During the day, when the sun is out. Water lily blooms when? At night, when the moon is out. So Kamala, Kamalambika and Nilotpalambika refer to the Ida and the Pingala Nadi, the Surya Nadi and the Chandra Nadi, with Shiva as the Sushumna Nadi in the central Kendra. That is how powerful a Kshetram. This is a Yoga Kshetram. This is where Kundalini activation happens. And Sundarar arrived in this very Kshetram. When he came to this Kshetram, he fell in love with somebody. That somebody that he fell in love with was one of Parvati's two dasis, who also fell in love with him. Her name is Paravay. So Paravay Nachiyar, as she is known, and Sundarar are given divine instructions to marry. So they marry and they remain very happily blissful in Thiruvarur. Sundarar's Shiva Bhakti also grows. It grows and it makes him travel. Because the thing about Bhakti is, when that grows in the heart, there is this desire for many people. I want to see him. I want to see how he is over here. Technically, if you look at it from a layman perspective, from the perspective of somebody who is Anahata Chakra, whose heart has not opened up to it, you will ask, Rameswaranlo kuda lingame kada, Kasilo kuda lingame kada, ఆ విగ్రహాన్ని చూడడానికి అంత తాపత్రయం ఏంటి, ఎక్కడ చూసినా ఒకటే కదా. కానీ భక్తుడు మనసులో దట్స్ నాట్ ద కేస్. ఇన్ ది హార్ట్ ఆఫ్ అ భక్త, రామేశ్వరం ఇస్ అ డిఫరెంట్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, కాశీ ఇస్ అ డిఫరెంట్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్, అండ్ దే విల్ డూ బోత్. సో దిస్ భక్త ఆల్సో వాంట్స్ టు ట్రావెల్. సో Sundarar wants to travel. Meanwhile, he has a very loving relationship with Paravay. So he tells Paravay, I will go and do yatra. He also goes to see Jnana Sambandar. He wants to meet that child devotee. So he goes on his own yatra, and when he goes to another town, he falls in love with the other Dasi of Parvati. That is a very elaborate story in itself, but what happens over there is that Dasi of Parvati and him get married, and moving past a very elaborate story, they come back to Thiruvarur. When they come back to Thiruvarur, the moment is very tense because Paravay is over here and she has gotten news that he is coming with another wife. Oh, the situation is not looking good for Sundarar, guys. So Paravay hears this. She goes to her house, the house that she and Sundarar lived in, and she shuts the doors. Sundarar is concerned about his own well-being. So, how is he going to explain himself? Who is going to help him? Who helps you when you are in trouble? Maza Sakha Panduranga over here. That Panduranga, technically if you think about it, Panduranga means white colored, Karpura Gauram. That Karpura Gauram only is here. In Thiruvarur, Sundarar goes straight to the shrine of Tyagaraja Swami and he says, you can't sit there like that. I am having problems in my life. Come. So Shiva says, where? Come and talk to Paravay. Paravay is not opening the door. So Shiva says, what should I come and do? Hello, you married Gauri after so much difficulty, that is only recorded in Shiva Puranam and Shiva Kalyanam. So you can help me out in my marriage, no? Come. So, much to the amazement of all the devotees, all the devatas, Shiva gets up from the Garbhagriham. As Valmiki Natha is in the Garbhagriham, and in this special Alayam as Tyagaraja Swami, he comes out and he starts to walk towards the doors of Paravai. Imagine this moment that God is now negotiating with a bhakta's wife, saying, please let him back in. Let's spend some moments on this, imagining that walk from the temple. This is not a walk or not the journey that Vishnu made from Vaikuntha to rescue Gajendra, which is for moksha. This is the walk that God made just so his bhakta's karma can get fulfilled, and he does that also without any hesitation. But let's imagine that walk of Samba Sada Shiva walking majestically. That walk, if we're able to visualize, that is no different from Nataraja walking. So can we visualize that together with our hearts, our voices and our minds?
I think we should all sing this. So I'll just sing the first line, we'll learn it. After that, all the lines are the same. Okay? Shankara Shiva, Shankara Shiva. Shambho Mahadeva Shankara Shiva. Wow, that sounds amazing. Now we'll sing both the lines together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shankara Shiva, Shankara Shiva. Shambho Mahadeva Shankara Shiva. Again. Shankara Shiva, Shankara Shiva. Shambho Mahadeva Shankara Shiva. Kashipate Varanasipate Ganga Jata Jota Gauripate. Kashipate Varanasipate Ganga Jata Jota Gauripate. Shiva Shiva Shankara Jaya Abhayankara. Shiva Shiva Shankara Jaya Omkara. Shiva Shiva Shankara Jaya
the gorgeous sight, the drishyam, the adbhuta drishyam, the extraordinary drishyam of seeing Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, the Lord of endless cosmic galaxies, walking from his mandiram to a human residence to appeal on behalf of his devotee. To us it is glorious because we are telling this tale much later. To the one on the receiving end, to a lover who now has to make space for someone else in her own lover's life, this is not sitting well at all. Shiva had a costume change before he went in. He did not go as Shiva. So he appeared as a Vritta Brahmana. So when he went there, as soon as Paravay saw him, she welcomed him in. And when she welcomed him in, he spoke to her. He said, "Everything is well in your home?" "Yeah." He said, "I don't see Sundar. He's outside." "Why?" "Everything okay?" "Yeah." She's not giving him any leeway for conversation. He goes straight to the point. "Paravay, I understand Sundar has married someone else, but I think you should..." She cuts him short. "Who are you to interfere between husband and wife's matters? Get out." So he says, "Nobody talks to me like that," which is true. Nobody talks to Parameshwara like that. But she said, "I'm not interested. I don't need any third person telling me how to manage my marital harmony. You leave." So he leaves. And here on the other end, waiting far away so that Paravai cannot see him, Sundara is waiting. And Shiva comes back, looking visibly very disheartened. So Sundara looks at him and he says, "What? Did you convince her?" Shiva said, "No, I could not convince." Sundara asks, "You could drink Visham and save the 3 worlds? You could not convince my wife? What kind of a god are you? You went alone, no?" Said, "Yeah." That's where the mistake was. Take her and go. Take Ambal and go. Take Amavaru and go. Everything will happen properly. Go again. So Shiva has to go again. And when Shiva goes this time, coming with her, when he comes with Gauri, in that moment Paravai herself is a Parvati Dasi. So when her mother came, she recognized and she had a flash that this is none other than the Adi Dampatis. And as soon as they came, they didn't have to converse, they didn't have to negotiate. She immediately bowed down and thought to herself, "I have the bhagyam of receiving the Adi Dampatis in my home, and I know why they are coming. They are coming because my husband is no less of a bhakta. So this is some leela that they are performing. I will let him in." And this is a very beautiful moment to talk about how when they come for the sake of a devotee, they will do whatever they are told to do by that devotee. But what makes a devotee command like that? If we go and command, will he respond? That depends on the inherent amount of love. Sundara did not love Parameshwara so that Parameshwara will perform a favor for him. Sundara loved Parameshwara because he loved Parameshwara. Full stop. So this happened. But for everybody this was not a pleasant sight. There is one more Shiva Bhakta who saw this, who heard about this incident, and he said, "These are the feet that moksha kankshis, those who want moksha, they think about and contemplate on these feet for lifetimes together." And Sundar made those feet, he dragged them across the dusty streets of Thiruvarur just for his own kama. This is not fair at all. Shiva smiled and came in the dream of this Shiva Bhakta and he said, "Sundar is a devotee of mine, you don't have to worry. Don't view him with negativity like that." And Shiva had to again do peacemaking, because when you get involved in other friends' politics, you have to do all of this. So Shiva performed this leela for Sundarar. Sundarar and his 2 wives stayed back there, and it's very interesting to note that in so many Shivalayams, you have Gauri Kalyanam, Girija Kalyanam that happens between Ambal and Swami. But in Thiruvarur, there is no Kalyanam for Swami. If you go to the temple of Thiruvarur, you will see the Utsava Murti of Sundarar along with his 2 wives. Shiva comes out from Tyagaraja Swami Sannidhi and Shiva performs the wedding for his bhakta, and he said, "In this kshetra alone I will do that. I will not marry. I will let my bhakta here have the joy of that entire thing." Here, along with Ammavaru, along with Gauri, he does that for the sake of his bhakta. Again, you cannot see this in any other place. Now it is at moments like this that you see what Sundara did in return for Shiva, because Sundarar honored that. They honored each other's friendship. Once Sundarar visited the temple and he noticed so many bhaktas had come. In Shaiva Sampradayam, there is a phenomenal tradition a rich cultural heritage, a bhakti bhandaram, if we can call it that, a treasure house of bhakti that we collectively call as the Nayanmar Sampradayam. These are 63 Shaivite saints, each of them immersed in Shiva Bhakti. Sundarar had the bhagyam of seeing so many of them. And when he saw them in the temple all at once, for a bhakta, two things bring joy. One is seeing Bhagavan, second is seeing another bhakta. Because they're the same thing, they're no different. When you see another bhakta, you're seeing Bhagavan only, in a bhakta's drishti. So when he saw them like this, Sundarar could converse with Shiva. So he said, Swami, they're all here. What should I say to them? What can I do for them? And Shiva said, Sundarar, write a verse honoring all the Nayanmars in this tradition. And that is why Sundarar composed a very beautiful verse. And each line ends with the words, Adiyen, I am a dasa of all these people. And if you see the way this builds up, he says, I am a dasa of everybody in this sacred land who has ever applied vibhuti and was ever born, is born and will ever be born. I am a dasa of everybody who declares themselves to be related to Shiva. In addition to naming each of the other Nayanmars, this was that level of absolute surrender to the collective Shiva Bhakti that he saw around him. So we will hear some of those words which were prompted in Sundarar's heart by Shiva himself.
தில்லை வாழந்தனர் தொமடியார் குமடியே திருநீல கண்டத்து குயவனார் கடியே தில்லை வாழந்தனர் தொமடியார் குமடியே திருநீல கண்டத்து குயவனார் கடியே இல்லையே என்னாக இயல்பதை குமடியே இழையான்று குடிமாறனடியார் குமடியே வெல்லுமாமிக வல்லமே பொருளக்கடியே விரிபொழி சுகுன்றையார் விரிமிந்த கடியே அல்லி மென்முல்லையுதர பகீதி கடியே ஆரூரராரூரிலம் மனுக்காரே பக்தராய் பணிவார்கள் எல்லார் குமடியே பரமனை பாடுவாரடியார் குமடியே சித்தத்தை சிவகாலை வைத்தார் குமடியே திருவாரூர் பிறந்தார்கள் எல்லார் குமடியே முப்போதும் திருமேனி திருமார் கடியே முழுநீர் பூசிய முனிவார் குமடியே அப்பாகுமணி சாந்தமடியார் குமடியே ஆரூரனாரூரிலம் மனுக்காலே ஆரூரனாரூர் அம்மனுக்காலே ஆரூரனாரூர் அம்மனுக்காலே.
The verse is a much longer one. We just took some portions of it. And when you see the devotional works of people that are steeped in the path of bhakti, you will see a range of emotions. You will see how beautifully Sundarar goes into this flow where he says Adiyen, Adiyen, Adiyen. And you will also see how amazing it is that the same Sundarar attained Paramapadam at the age of 18. All of these experiences within 18 years of age. Ultimately he came, he finished that Kama Vasana which he had to experience in Bhulokam, and he went back to Kailasam. The length of human life is not at all an indication of the fulfillment of human life. What we look at as, oh yes, only if somebody has lived long have they lived a meaningful life, is not the case in Bhakti Margam. Because in Bhakti Margam, sometimes people they come like a flash of lightning and they go. But here we are, centuries after Sundarar's physical body has left, sitting here and recognizing that, oh, this is what Shiva Sakhyam can do to the heart. This is how one can go closer to him. But the biggest question remains, how do we get to that state of Sakhyam? Yesterday also we asked this question. One is through Namam. Second is recognizing where other aspects creep in, where vasanas pull us away. Because in the journey of bhakti, as we go closer to Paramatma, there are other things that are pulling us back. Those are our karmas. those karmas have a very twisted way of working. Not twisted in a negative way, but they simply tighten the screws because the karmas that we have performed in the past are what are pulling us back. We don't know what they are. But when they operate and their pull becomes too much, for a bhakta, even the longing will go higher and higher. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. It is a slight deviation, but Shiva Sakhyam is not complete until we speak about Vishnu. In the context of understanding how the pull towards him is what takes us towards him, there is a very beautiful story. This is the story of how Krishna sucked the breasts of one Rakshasi who came as soon as he was born. This is Putana, as you all know. Now, Putana has her own backstory. How is it that this Rakshasi, Krishna gave her the bhagyam of sucking her breasts, of drinking her kshirastanyam? She died, is how we read it in English, but that's a very poor translation. What really happened to Putana is her jiva got pulled inside him. But before that, something else also happened. Putana, in her previous life, was present at the time of Vamana Avataram. At the time of Vamana Avataram, when Vishnu incarnated as Vamana and he came into Bali's Sabha, into Mahabali Chakravarti's Sabha, where a yajnam was going on, everybody who was performing that yajnam stopped. Because this Vatu, this little boy, was so handsome, so beautiful to look at, that nobody could take their eyes off him. Amongst them was one lady, her name was Ratnamala. Ratnamala was watching the scene from the side and thinking, when I look at him, I feel as if he is my child. And her breast started to ooze milk. In that moment, Vamana looked from the side of his eye and he said, don't worry, in another avataram, I will drink that milk and I will give you mukti. There are some other Rakshasa vasanas that you have to finish off. I will take that janmam, mix both of them and I will give you straight mukti. That Ratnamala came back as Putana. So, karmas, all of these will operate. They will pull us back. But one act of love, one call out to him will snap all these bonds. That is why Tyagaraja Swami said, Shiva, 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 Janardhan. Just say it once. And when you say it, not once, but in this case, thrice. Whenever you do something thrice, in Sanatana Dharma, 3 is a very important number. When you do it thrice, that activity gains strength. That is why we do it for Shanti also. So we soak ourselves into that idea that all we have to say is his name for these karma vasanas that we are experiencing right now to eventually snap and for us to go closer to him.
Shiva, 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 Janardhan. Shiva, 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 Janardhan. Ore 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 Bala. Bala.
So if you observe the path we took on Shiva Sakhyam from Janma onwards, he's present for someone at the time of birth. He's present for a little crying baby and gives him Jnanakshiram. He inspires that baby at the time of Upanayana Samskaram. And as the passage of rites increase, he appears to another bhakta at the time of Vivaham and changes the course of his life forever. But all these are applying to circumstances when people are going through the ordinary course of life, and Shiva's support enables them to fulfill that meaningfully. When we look particularly in the context of Vivaham, even in Sundarar's case, Sundarar wished to marry someone else and Shiva enabled that for him, as we discussed, with all the philosophy attached to it, that it helped him go past his karmas. But here is where we have to pause, and the coin has to be flipped. All this is in the regular pursuit of samsara, which most of us may be in. Then he comes and supports us. But what about if we want to marry him? That is when the entire context changes. And there will be one such bhakta amongst a million who truly desires nothing but him. And such a bhakta cares little about gender. Because when you look at the traditions, different bhakti traditions, you will see that when Paramatma is eulogized as Paramapurusha, the bhakta that wishes to be one with him automatically goes into a state of Sree Bhavam. There it is not the external gender, the internal gender becomes feminine to go and to match into that cosmic masculine. That is why a very beautiful story is told in the context of Mirabai as well. That Mirabai wished to see a certain Ramanand Swami who had come visiting. And when she wanted to see Ramanand Swami, a news was sent to him that Mirabai wished to come. So he said, and he was in Vrindavan, that is where she was going to visit him. And he received this news and he was a little uncomfortable saying, but I don't speak with women. And he sent this note back saying, tell her not to come. I know she is a Mahabhakta of Krishna, but I don't speak with women. Mirabai wrote back to him saying, oh, you don't speak to women, but in Vrindavan, are there any men apart from Krishna? I thought we are all women over here. That is when he agreed and he has that conversation with her. And for such bhaktas who have that kind of awareness, that kind of understanding, the path of life changes altogether. Because here we move from Sakhya Bhakti into Madhurya Bhakti, into Prema Bhakti. That Gadha Prema, the deep undiluted Prema for Paramatma manifested in one girl's heart. And this girl had it in her heart of hearts that she will marry Shiva and Shiva alone. But samsara does its own thing, and a king sees this beautiful young girl and he wants to marry her. So he approaches her parents. The king is actually a Jain king, and these are Shiva Sharanas. This family belongs to Shiva Sharanas. So they are entirely in a state of service to Shiva. So the king is denied this marriage proposal, and the parents tell him that no, with all due respect, we cannot have our daughter marry you because you do not belong to this sampradayam. And by hook or by crook, the man in power wants what he wants. So initially he tries to cajole them with wealth and with gifts and all kinds of aishwaryam, but eventually he threatens them for their life, and that pressure works on them. So they approach their daughter and they tell her, look, if your parents have to be alive, you have to marry him. So she says, okay, I will marry this king. I will give him 3 conditions. If he breaks those conditions, all 3 of those conditions, one time I will forgive him for all those 3 conditions. First, he should allow me to meet other Shiva Bhaktas when they come to his palace. He should not stop that. Number 2, he should not touch me when I do not want to be touched. Number 3, whenever my guru is visiting, he should never put any hindrance in that path. And I should be allowed to perform my Shiva Bhakti in the palace, even though he is a Jain king. So the king is not concerned about anything, quickly signs the offer document, and he invests in this relationship. She moves into the palace with him, and she is unfazed by the palace life. She lives like a hermit inside the palace. She eats very little. She is always doing Shivanama Japam or Dhyanam. She is always lost. And when there are other Maheshwaras, that is other Shiva Bhaktas come, she goes and she meets them. She's not concerned about anything else. There is one time when she is sleeping and some Maheshwaras come. That time the king sees that she is sleeping and he tells the Maheshwaras, go away. She wakes up hearing that and she says, one condition violated. You asked the Shiva Bhaktas to go away. There is another time when she is in the bedroom with the king, and that time her guru comes and he says no, her Patni Dharmam is first. And she says, second condition violated. There is a third time when she is sitting just after a bath, she is in wet clothes at Sayam Sandhya Kalam, at the evening dusk period. She is doing Shivachana, and at that moment the king walks past and he sees her like this, and lust arises in his heart, and he comes and tries to hold her from behind, pushing him back and throwing him on the floor. She said, all three conditions you have violated today, and that is it. You are obsessed with this physical body. That's all you see in me, no? You don't see who I really am. I'm not even married to you really. I'm already married to my Shiva. So all that you see here, I am renouncing this. And so saying, she removes all the clothing on her body and she throws it and walks out of that palace stark naked, unmindful of all those people, all those pairs of eyes that are watching her. And she says, all that I have to give, I have already given my Channamallikarjuna, my Lord, who is there in Sri Shailam. I am not concerned about any of this. And this woman stormed across Karnataka Desha and walked towards the Anubhava Mantapa. In the Anubhava Mantapa, where other Shiva Bhaktas were gathering, other Veera Shaivas were gathering, when news of her arrival had come, again a very similar story that happened between Mirabai and Ramanand Swami also happened here, that the men were all discussing, a woman is now going to come over here? Allama Prabhu, Basavanna, these were some of the characters there at the time. And when she walked in, her response was exactly the same. In Shiva Bhakti, are we all not female? Isn't he only the Param Purusha? So for this reason, amazed by her understanding of Shiva, although she was younger in age than all these people, they all said, we will call you Akka henceforth, and this woman is none other than Akka Mahadevi. Akka Mahadevi's Charitram is testimony to the power of human resilience that can challenge, defy and destroy social norms in that singular context when a Bhakta wants Paramatma and Paramatma alone. We present to you one beautiful verse of Akka Mahadevi describing how she says, I have lost my heart to that Channamallikarjuna. He alone is my Ganda. Ganda is the Kannada word for husband.
ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನನೇ ಗಂಡನೆನಗೆ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಲೋಕದ ಗಂಡನೆನಗೆ ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಲೋಕದ ಗಂಡನೆನಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧವಿಲ್ಲವಯ್ಯ ನಾನೊಲಿದೆನಯ್ಯ 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 ಚನ್ನ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನನಿಗೆ ಚನ್ನ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕಾರ್ಜುನನಿಗೆ
That is also the power of folk traditions in this country. That when people sung from their heart and they walked from place to place, their singing drew others to them. That singing passed on as beautiful words. You can see if you sit down to translate this beautiful composition, the words Akka Mahadevi uses, where she says, all these husbands in this world, of what use are they to me? I am already wedded to that Chenna Mallikarjuna. It is Andhra Valla Bhagyam that this Akka Mahadevi, the seed of Shiva Bhakti germinated in Karnataka, grew into a fruit, and that fruit ultimately got offered into Sri Shailam, where she offered her body entirely, her pranam, her shariram, her sarvasvam went into that Mallikarjuna Swami, and she became no different from that Parvati that ultimately had Girija Kalyanam with him. So this aspect, that when life is happening normally, we want him, something opens. We want something from him, something opens. Whichever stage of life it is, whatever it is that we require, he knows how to be present. And he does it in the most interesting of ways. There is a very beautiful practice, if you see in Arunachalam. Arunachalam in Tiruvannamalai is where Swami rules as the Agni Lingam, one of the Panchabhuta Kshetras, where Shiva embodies each of the 5 bhutas. Today's Pradosham, can we also just quickly think and do smarana of those 5? The first is Prithvi Lingam. Prithvi Lingam is in Kanchipuram. This is where Shiva is present as Ekambreshwara. There is a small rahasyam, I'm sharing this in the interest of Upasakas who are here. Many people consider Kanchipuram to be the Prithvi Kshetram because it is well documented. But there is a Devi Sthani Ashtotram. In this Ashtotram, it says that Thiruvarur is actually the Thiruvarur which we just spoke about. This is the Prithvi Kshetram. Because if you see in Thiruvarur, in the Garbhagraham, Shiva is present as Valmika Natha. Valmika means ant hill. So ant hill is also made of mud. So there is also Prithvi connection. Also, Ambal, right in front of the Garbhagudi, in the right one pranganam outside of that, Ambal is there as an Utsava Vigraham. Ambal has 1 foot here, 1 hand here, pointing at the Kshetram saying this is Prithvi Kshetram. That is how Mahatmas have interpreted both of these to be Prithvi Kshetrams. So this is Kanchipuram or Thiruvarur as the Prithvi Kshetram. What is the next element? The next element is that of Jalam. Prithvi to Jalam. Observe Vinayak Chaturthi and you will see this process. Prithvi Ganapati or a Matti Vinayakudu is immersed into water. That is a yogic process. From Prithvi Tattvam we have to move to Jala Tattvam. Jala Tattvam, representing Jala Tattvam, Shiva resides in the temple of Jambukeshwara in Tiruvanaikovil. In Tiruvanaikovil, you will see always around Jambukeshwara there is water. He is anyway by the side of Kaveri Nadi, but there is always a stream of water inside the Garbhagraham. Nobody knows where it comes from or how it appears there. That is the second. The third one is Agni Lingam. Agni Lingam is in Arunachalam or Tiruvannamalai. In Tiruvannamalai, when you enter in front of that Agni Lingam, whatever the season may be outside, that heat will hit you. You will feel it. Those of you who have gone there, you can relate to this. That is where Ramana Maharshi and phenomenal other Atmajnanis also resided. The 4th Kshetra is in this Punyanagari, Srikalahasti. Srikalahasti is where Shiva rules as Vayu Tattvam, which is why the lamps inside are always flickering because of the movement of air. And finally, Akasha Tattvam. People say wrongly Akasha Lingam, but it is Akasha Lingam Kadiyada. It is not a Lingam. It is Akasha Tattvam. Akasha Tattvam is represented, Dahara Akasha Tattvam is represented in the Chit Sabha. So these are the 5 different kshetras. Each kshetra has its own Mahatmyam, but in Arunachalam, we present you one very beautiful story connected to the life cycle, because we are talking about how Shiva supports us in our life. There is a very interesting practice that has continued in Arunachalam. This practice owes its origins to one story. There is a certain king, and this king is very desirous of having children. Now here is the interesting thing. The story tells us that the king is almost about to die without any heir to the throne, but his worry is not the heir to the throne. His worry is, there will be no putra to perform shraddha for me, to perform antakriya for me. This is what the story tells us. But history tells us he has a child. So obviously the king is not happy with that child. Obviously there is some discord between them, and the king feels that that child will not perform this. So he prays intensely to Shiva, and just before he dies, in his dream, a baby Shiva appears for just one moment and disappears. So he gets up from that dream and he hears a voice that says, "Why are you so worried? I will come when you go and I will take care of what you want." So his pranam goes straight to Kailasa. For such punyatmas, they will go straight to Kailasa. But Shiva honored his request. And this happens in the month, it corresponds roughly to the lunar calendar of Magha Masam. On the day of Magha Nakshatram, Swami is actually about to have an Abhishekam. At that moment, when his Abhishekam is about to begin, at that same moment, the king's pranam has gone in the palace. So Shiva gets up from the temple of Arunachalam, goes there, performs the Shraddham, comes back, has a purificatory bath, and then sits down for his Abhishekam. And this practice, you will see it is still performed till date every year in that month. Shiva's, the Utsava Vigraham from Tiruvannamalai is taken, a Shraddham is performed for that king, and then he is brought back over here to say that I have not forgotten my word to my devotees. From Jananam till Maranam, and in what a phenomenal way. This is one aspect of it. But because I sense a lot of tattvam is happening, let's step out from all of this and imagine what the scene will be in Kailasa. Because he is so busy, from Bhakta's Jananam, Bhakta's Upanayanam, Bhakta's Vivaham, Bhakta marrying him, and him delivering Bhaktas from Samsara Sagaram. There is somebody waiting there at home. There is somebody who also has so much of love for him. And we pause and pay attention to that beautiful moment of romance that she is also desirous for with Shiva. And imagine what it would be like when she is waiting fully with complete abharanas from head to toe, and he comes with bhasmam, with chita bhasmam, with all of these friends. And how it might be like for her. So I don't think I can explain this any better than the creator of this beautiful Tumri, the composition that Akka herself has penned and tuned. And I think it's only fair that Akka explains the sentiment behind how she composed this from Parvati's point of view about Shiva.
So I've often wondered why there is no Shringara Kavya, the way it is written between Krishna and his consorts, why it's not there between Shiva and Parvati. And like Vinay rightly said, Parvati must have been felt so ignored by Lord Shiva, because she's always waiting, constantly waiting for him, and mostly she's lonely because she doesn't really have too many friends. But here in my imagination, it's all happening only in my head, that she also has a Sakhi. And she's complaining to her Sakhi that this guy, this Shiva, I'll tell you, bade bhole bante hain. He pretends to be very innocent. He is known as Bholenath. Bade bhole bane mere nath. He pretends just to be very innocent, but truly I don't think he's that innocent. And she goes on to complain to her, and she says, I dress up all day long because he promises to come back at a certain time, and I take so much of an effort. I make such an effort to wear such wonderful, beautiful jewelry and such clothes, and I dress up for him. And he just lands up in his bhasma, thinking that it is a very fragrant talcum powder. And then he just wears this snake, which is actually very ferocious, but he thinks it's a very attractive ornament. And there he is with all his skulls as a garland. And he thinks that he's trying to make an effort to impress me with his clothing, but truly he isn't. And then he says, she goes on to say, this dhyanam that he does, I have many doubts about this, because he claims that it is to balance the Srishti, Sthiti, Laya and all of that. But probably he's thinking about the Ganga who's sitting on his head. Because Parvati is also a little jealous that she is left all alone at home, but Ganga gets to go with him everywhere. So this is
that also shows the beautiful interplay between them. Because Adi Shankaracharya has also beautifully said this in Saundarya Lahari. He said, Saroshayam Ganga, that towards Ganga she looks with a little bit of rosham, little bit of anger. because she sees that she is always closer to him. These are bhavas that in Shringara, in Sakhya, in Prema, in Madhura Bhakti, these are all permissible. There is no fear around exploring that bhavam and understanding it. But Tattvam is what is anchoring all of these explorations. In the story of Arunachala, think about why the story happened in Arunachalam. What does Arunachalam mean? A red color mountain. And in this kshetram, where at the base of the mountain is the Shivalayam, that is where Arunachaleshwara is present. That is where he went out from and went and did this activity for his bhakta. But why did it happen in this kshetram? To be able to go and perform the Shraddham and become a son for this king, he has to have Karunyam. Karunyam in Sanskritam and in Samskruti. In our Samskriti, Karunyam is given the color red because red is the color of life. And that is why Karunyam or Karuna, if you take away one syllable from that, you take away Ka, what are you left with? Aruna. Aruna is nothing but the goddess. Arunam Karunam Tarangitakshim. So when you say Arunachala, it is referring to Amavaru and Swamivari together, and that combination is where Karunyam comes from. So that combination is what takes him to go and do activities like this. That combination of her being by him eternally as his Shakti, that is one Tattvam. And then is these other beautiful bhavams around it saying, she's waiting there at home saying, Ostara Leda. All of this becomes equally beautiful for a bhakta. When we talk about the last part of our lives where Shiva is present, holding a bhakta, the mind and the heart will not let us rest at ease without going to that kshetram where he truly delivers a bhakta. That kshetram, Kashi Mahakshetram, in that Punya kshetram, the way that a bhakta is picked up, perhaps this has been shared before, but in this context it becomes only that much more relevant, that when Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was going through Kashi Kshetram in a boat with some of his devotees, he was going past, the boat was on Ganga, and the boat was going past one ghat, and when he saw something there, he stopped. He went into a state of samadhi just seeing something over there. After he came out of that samadhi, he told his students, his disciples, what he saw. He said, I saw bodies burning on that ghat. They all saw that. And Manikarnika Ghat, where this happened, he said, I saw that as one pyre's fire was touching the sky, there was a jiva that was inside that pyre that was burning. And I saw a dark woman coming from inside the city and picking up that jiva, placing that jiva on her lap, and then using her own vastram to fan that jiva because that jiva is feeling very hot. Then she called somebody from inside and he came. Karpura Spatikendu Sundaratanum Katyayani Sevitam. That one who is in head to toe, dressed in white and himself is white in color, he came. He picked up that jiva. He turned the jiva towards its right ear and he whispered something inside the jiva's ear, and immediately the jiva went inside him. This is what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa saw. This is a pratyaksha anubhavam for somebody. And if you open the Skanda Puranam and the Kashi Khandam over there, you will see that it is said, those who leave their bodies in Kashi, Shiva, as they leave their bodies first, Shiva or Gauri or Devi or Kali, whichever form you call her by, she picks up that jiva and removes all their tapas from this life, and that she does by fanning them. When their tapas are gone, they are ready to receive Upadesha from Parameshwara, and then he comes and whispers the Taraka Mantram into their ears. What that Taraka Mantram is, they alone know. It is between that Guru and that Shishya, and as soon as it falls into the ears of that jiva, it is a Sukshma Sharira, that jiva, it gets absorbed straight into him. This is the process of Kashyantu Maranan Muktihi. This is how a being attains Mukti. So from Janma till Marana, who else is there but him as a Sakha? That Sakha that is there at that moment saying, I am here, you don't have to have any worry. That Sakha is very, very rare to come across. And such a Sakha, you can fall in love with him because he is endearing. Yes, he is Paramatma, he is all of these things, but he is also equally adorable. And to show that adorability and how lovable he is, we present to you a lullaby on this gorgeous form of Paramatma, a lullaby to Shiva, where each verse explores a very cute aspect. Again, Akka was the one who introduced me to this lullaby, so I think I'll ask her to explain one or two lines about the lullaby itself, talking about how easy it is to actually put this little boy to sleep, or is it difficult? You see, you decide.
This composition is in Telugu, again written by Sree Tanikella Bharani Garu. And so beautifully he puts the little Shiva to sleep. And he says, "O Shiva, na Shiva, Bajjora Shiva, Moodu kannulu moosi Bajjora Shiva. Close all your 3 eyes and sleep." And clay toys like this. And the world is going to, curse you for it. It's going to say that you do not have a heart. So this is the lullaby. We'll just sing very few paragraphs of it because it has a very, very long, many, many verses.
Also, we don't want you to fall asleep. You have to put him to bed.
O Shiva na Shiva, Bajjora ma Shiva, Moodu kannulu moosi Bajjora ma Shiva, Sigagutti kannanta yarravarinda, Amela verrina nanna, Puttalo pettini pakka nedadaru, O Shiva na Shiva, Bajjora ma Shiva, Moodu kannulu moosi Bajjora ma Shiva, Palutsukomante parugulellevu, Palante neekinta vishavela tandri, Neellallo neekinni munakalendukuraa, Tala tadisipotenu jalubu chesenu, O Shiva na Shiva, Bajjora ma Shiva, Moodu kannulu moosi Bajjora ma Shiva, Mandito ఊరికే ఆటలాడకురా, కోపమొస్తే అది కొమ్ము విసిరేను, మట్టి బొమ్మలనన్ని పగలగొట్టవా, అమ్మల కలు నిన్ను ఆడిపోసేను, ఓ శివ నా శివ, బజ్జోర మా శివ, మూడు కన్నులు మూసి బజ్జోర మా శివ, బజ్జోర మా శివ, బజ్జోర మా శివ.
We put him to bed, that little Shiva to bed. We do it because he is our Sakha and we have to take care of him like that. Can we go back to our puja mandirams and treat him with that love? Can we, before we retire for the day, can we go and say good night to him? Kinchit bheda in our sadhana and a world of love will open up. But what does that Sakha of ours like to do? We speak of him sleeping, of trying to put him to bed. But he has a best friend of his own. Who is his best friend? That little boy in Vrindavan. And when that little boy in Vrindavan was not sleeping, Shiva wanted to go and see, can I put him to bed because he'll sleep if I go. But when he went, Yashoda saw that avataram. She said, no. Shiva Papa didn't get entry into Paravay's house, didn't get into Yashoda's house. She said, nothing doing. Then she went back and she saw that her boy is crying even more. So one of the Gopikas came and told her, your boy is crying because a Mahatma has been sent away from your door. What happened? So Yashoda said, somebody with 3 eyes and a snake and some scorpions and the moon on his head came. I said, go away. They said, don't. Put the boy into that man's hand. So Yashoda took him and put him into Shiva's hands. This happened outside Yashoda's Bhavanam in Gokulam. And when Shiva held that little boy, Shiva looked at that little boy. His own tears rolling across his face mixed with the Ganga drenched that boy. But that boy was not feeling cool. He was feeling so warm in Shiva's love that he went to sleep. This boy who had been crying for so long went to sleep effortlessly because Shiva put him to bed. You can see this leela, this prema leela, when you go to Gokula, when you enter into Nanda Bhavana, which is the home where Krishna was received after he was born on the other side in Mathura. Just at the entrance of Nanda Bhavana, there is a Vigraham of Shiva. That is where Shiva had to wait for 3 nights before Yashoda gave him permission to touch her son. So there are 2 different kinds of premas at work. One is Shiva's prema to see Krishna. Second is Yashoda's prema to keep her child. All of this and more, how do you see it? Where do you see it? You see it in kshetras. So in our lifetime, in the column of our lifetime, if we want to be able to understand how to build that relationship of love, the answer cannot be found in textbooks. The answer can be found through personal explorations, by spending time in kshetras, by thinking of kshetras, by wanting to go to those kshetras where we can see these leelas happen. Because the more the mind wants to travel there, the more the heart opens up, and there is a possibility of that grace coming from above. Because to be able to go to Shiva and say, I don't want anything from you, I just want to be around you and I want to have bhakti towards you. There are so many different ways of saying that. Adi Shankaracharya, in an outpour of bhakti, said to him, when I come to you, you should give me something. Because you are known as a Raja. We called him Tyaga Raja. But actually, ninnu chuste koncho doubt. Pony, do you have some haras of gold, Kasuluperu? Do you have all these Mutyala haras to give me? No, because you are wearing a snake. So I don't want that. Pony, do you have some Anna Sampada? Are you very rich? Do you have a great catering business that you can give me something from that? Your food is Visham. Visham you have kept here. So that also I don't want. Forget it. Pony, at least do you have some great textile industry from which I can get some shares? No. What do you wear for clothes? Some rotting elephant's hide. So adi kuda akkarledu naku. All of these things you can't give me, but you have to give me something, no? You don't have anything to give. And then he thinks about it and he says, give me one thing that you can give. Tavapada bhakti meva dehi. Give me devotion to your feet. Because that is the one thing that I am seeking, and that is the one thing that you have to give. Because this is where we understand bhakti and the crux of it. When bhakti is there, all other sampadas, if they are there, we will offer it to him. If they are not there, the bhakta is not bothered. But if bhakti is not there and all these other sampadas are there, they are not conducive to that path leading to him. That is the hridayam of every Bhagavata who has walked in this Punya Bhumi, saying, give me bhakti to be able to romance you, give me bhakti to be able to love you, to be friends with you, to develop a relationship with you, to treat you as my life partner in the truest sense of the word. And that bhakti comes through so many ways. But ultimately we leave you with that thought saying, it comes through Kshetra Darshanam. And let us also, if not our physical bodies, transport our mental and emotional bodies to those kshetras in the hope that someday that bhakti will germinate from a sapling into a tree, and the fruits of that tree will be eternal love for him.
Chalamana